Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Al Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 117, Section 050, Intermediate AutoCAD. We're going to go through and talk about this course. The first part we want to talk about is the course management software. We're using this D2L software for course management. And if you're online right now, you've probably figured out how to go ahead and log into it. It's pretty straightforward. You just basically go to d2l.oakton.edu and log in with your normal login. Unfortunately, mine's already logged in, so it took me right there. And it'll then show the course here. And then once we have the course displayed, you'll have access to the content. L does most of the D2L work, and I do a lot of the lecturing and management. We're planning on holding Zoom meetings every Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. Your attendance is not required, so you don't have to show up, but we do like it when you do, if you do have any questions. So with getting started, here's our link to how to use D2L. If we click on that, it basically tells you how to log in. And here's the address that I just spoke of, d2l.oakton.edu. I think we're good with that. Here's our syllabus. You can reach Al and I at d2l.oakton.edu with these addresses. My office is over at the Skokie campus in P131. They're letting us back over there, so I'm over there typically on Wednesday afternoons. CAD 116 is recommended but not required. The reason I don't require the courses is that I get a lot of people who have some CAD experience, and it's silly for them not to be able to register for an intermediate course. And so I took off the requirement or the prerequisite and made it a recommendation. And that seems to work for us. This is the second course in AutoCAD. It covers blocks, attributes, X references, filters. We do a bit more three-dimensional drawing, but essentially by taking the second class, you'll get a nice, strong feeling of confidence with AutoCAD. The first class, people get a little wonky, kind of trying to figure it out. But by the time they get into the second class, they pretty much know what they're doing and we get better at it. And so we'll be using the CAD system to basically upgrade our skills. Academic integrity, you know, it's always a good idea to do your own work. There seems to be a lot of crazy stuff out there nowadays as far as violations go. And usually it's accidental. So, you know, if you have any difficulty, you're better off just being late and just telling Al and I that you're not able to get the assignment done.
And
Outline it.
If for some reason you're out of town, you got to do some work for somebody else, or you got company, whatever the case be, just let us know you're going to be late with the assignment. We have no problem on that. We just like to find out yes, no, whatever's going on.
Exactly. And, you know, it's not a required course. So we feel that the people that are in the course want to be there. And so most people are pretty good about everything, doing the work themselves. Course methods of instruction. We'll hold these weekly Zoom meetings. Typically the recordings are 15, 20 minutes. We have recordings of how to do the labs. And so when we do the Zoom meetings every week, we don't go into how to do the labs because we've already done those recordings. And so it's easier to refer to a recording we've done and say, here it is. And we can kind of show you and fast forward to it rather than teach it like we're in the classroom, because you can have a certain autonomy and you can work on this 2 o'clock in the morning and get all your work done if you want. And so we are finding that that works pretty well for us. But essentially we have these labs, we have quizzes and assignments, and it's basically drawing based. And so we use 2 textbooks. We use Technical Drawing 101. We're using the 2020 version. We have the 2018 version on here. it looks pretty much the same. 2021 is a little bit different when you get into the software. If you have downloaded the 2021, you'll start to notice a few of those tweaks, and Al is really good at explaining the workarounds and how those things relate to how it is now. Because like a lot of people, you may have taken this course a long time ago and then they've changed the way the interface looks. And so it's a good way to kind of get up to speed. And we like to use the textbook because this Technical Drawing 101 book does a real good job of establishing standards like ASME and other standards that go through text height and basically how you should dimension drawings and lay them out per these standards for jobs. It's a pretty straight 90, 80, 70, 60 grading scale. You know, typically 50% is drawing labs, 10% quizzes, and 40% final exam. That's pretty high, Al. I didn't know we were up to that much on that.
It's midterm and final exam.
Okay. So don't blow off the midterm and final. If you have any documented course requirements or needs, just talk to us. You know, every now and then we'll get somebody in the class that colorblind or they have some other needs. You don't have to tell everybody, just tell us and we'll make sure that the accommodations are set for you. So that's the syllabus. If we look at the sequence of topics, every week we'll roll out another chapter. And so we'll start off with chapter 1. We'll start to get into three-dimensional modeling next week, which will be the chapter from the other textbook. And then we'll just basically go through each chapter by chapter. The book can be a little dry at times, but at the other end of it, you know, the first parts of it, when they talk about traditional drafting tools, we're talking about T-squares, lettering guides, all the tools that I grew up with and Al did as well that have now kind of morphed into these CAD tools. And so it's a CAD course, but we do want to touch on how these traditional tools work. And we feel that the course works pretty well as far as being able to kind of get people up and running with it. So we'll go through, you know, basically drafting standards, and then we'll look at both mechanical standards. So chapter 5 goes through how to dimension mechanical drawings. And then when we go into chapter 6, it goes into standards for architectural drawings. And so as we work with these projects, we're working within these standards so that when you work for somebody, you understand how to set up text heights, how to set up viewports, how to set up scales, and those things that are needed for employment. And so we go through section drawings. Spring break is March 15th to the 21st. We'll have the midterm after spring break, the week of the 22nd. And that'll be done using a program that does proctoring. What's our proctor software, Al?
Hold on. I had it, but I can't remember it anymore.
HonorLock. Now I remember. Yeah, HonorLock. So we'll use this HonorLock system. You have to shell out like $11 or $12 to be able to use it. But that's sort of the only way that we can tell that people are who they say they are when they do the tests and stuff. So we do have a proctoring software that you use when you take that because we can't meet in person. And then we'll go into mechanical drawings. We'll also look at more 3D applications as we go through. We have a 3D printing project. And then we have that as kind of our final project. And then what we have is the final exam. We like to give it, we typically give that at the end of April and then the last day of class. Now, this looks like it's a little off. I've got to check this, but typically
5/17.
Yes, that's what I thought. So we'll have to correct that because that's, we typically have the final exam on May 3rd. And that way the last day of class is kind of a mercy day. And so if you finish everything, then you don't have to worry about attending that. But we'll correct this and get these set up. But this should be 5/17 is the last day, and we'll correct those. How to install the software. If you're interested in, if you haven't installed it, these are the instructions for how to install it, autodesk.com. And you want to use the AutoCAD for a PC. If you do have a Mac, you can use it as well, but it does look different. You can use a VPN, which allows you to use the internet connection to connect to a computer at Oakton. And so some softwares, you can't get a student version. AutoCAD, you can. So we do recommend you work on your home PC. But if you have like a Chromebook and it just doesn't have the processing power, then you can VPN into the Oakton network and use one of our computers. And people have had good success with that. The instructions are here. If you are going to use a VPN, email Al and I, and we'll help you get started with that. We have a video. Here's the video for how to do Module 1. We click on it. And CAD 117.
That's how to get started of the class.
Terrific.
Yep, and Mod 1.
So as we go through it, this is a 16-minute video, and we'll go through this information tonight. But like I said before we started the recording, we go through and we set up our lectures in our weekly Zoom meeting to just be able to tell people where to find the resources that they need, rather than go through and do everything over and over again. And so this is just a recording of our PowerPoint. Goes through technical drawing careers, etc. And we'll take a look at that briefly tonight. But there is a recording. Do you have to watch it? No, you do not. But you can kind of do like I'm doing right here, where you kind of fast forward through it, take a look at median salaries, what's going on in the industry, and then the exercises at the end of the chapter, which is what we're going to go through and talk about in a minute. So that's our starting mod video. Title blocks for the drawings. We're going to be using this B-size title block. And so if you click on this B-size title block, it'll download it. And then if I click on it and say open, if you have your AutoCAD properly installed, then you'll be all set. You can open up the software, or it'll launch in a window with our B-size title block. Help desk. If you do have any difficulty, we have a help desk here that you can contact. And we have a great guy who's helping us with that. His name is Matt. And Matt can help get you set up with the VPN and with some other issues. If you do have any technical issues, Al has all the bases covered in this main splash page. We also have the due dates. And so module 1 is going to be due on February 3rd. And so if we look at our calendar, typically we like to have everything due 2 weeks from the date we started. And so it'll be like a work in progress. So every week we'll add something to it. And they're typically due 2 weeks out from that. So you want to stay on top of it. You want to get your work done. And you want to get to understand the workflow. If you can't get it done on time, you can email Al and I and ask for an extension. If you turn it in late, you'll get a 10% deduction or thereabouts, depending on how late it is. So timely turning in of the assignments is important. But as we go through and we look at it, you can see every week we have a different module due. And so Al's got that all programmed out as well. All right, so that's our main splash page. And then if we go into the content, well, let's go look at the assignments again. And so here's where the assignments will go. Module 1, February 3rd, 2021. And we already have one student who's submitted those. And so when a student submits the files, this is what we'll see. We'll see that they've submitted the drawings. He's already got them in for today, probably worked on them this morning. And then Al and I will evaluate them. And so when we evaluate them, we'll be using a course rubric. And so you'll get a rubric that looks like this. And then the rubric will say completeness, graphically accurate, uses proper design rules like layers and line types, dimensional standards like tolerances, etc., proper dimensioning. And it's just a good way for us to provide feedback to the students and be able to give them an honest assessment of their work. For the most part, people do really great on the drawing assignments. We don't really see a lot of things that are that difficult. I think it's just a matter of managing the course and the flow of the course as we go through it to be able to get all the work done.
And also, by the way, Joe, if for some reason you're having problems with one of the drawings, which is no problem, please, if you want to, you can drop it into the Dropbox or assignment box, they call it nowadays, and put a little note to it and indicate, I have this drawing, I don't only grade it, please look it over, help me with the drawing, and just email us whatever has to be done also just to verify we have it, and we will help you on it. We will bring it up and we can talk about it online if you need to, or just back and forth on emails.
Exactly. So, you know, we want people to get their money's worth out of the course. And so we have these standards that we have to keep from our bosses because they're constantly wanting to see what students are learning. And then we just have to demonstrate that. We have to show them, here's our grades, here's how we're assessing people, here's our learning objectives. With that, most of the material is located in content. So if we go to content, and then we've looked at the syllabus already. We've looked at our sequence of topics. Here's a module on free AutoCAD software. It's nice. You don't have to just take the AutoCAD course. You can go in there and get software for other courses if you decide that you want to kind of load up on software. There's other material in there at the student.autodesk.com site, but that's the instructions. I'm going to switch over to a student view here, Al.
Okay, that's fine.
And then I'll make sure that I cover it. So that's the software. We have all the title blocks for the class that are downloadable. And so we'll use the mechanical and the architectural title blocks. And then the textbook, we have PDFs of them in there. And see, this is what I thought. We had to take a look for the chapter 1. I'm not sure if the students have the book, but.
Click on download, or it says underneath where SDC, please. And it automatic downloads the whole book for you.
You're kidding me. Oh, we probably shouldn't have recorded that. But anyway, I'm going to cancel that. There's a lot of them in there. We could always turn them on. If I view as an instructor, we have the chapters. And the chapters basically look like this. Let's see here. There it is. So here's the Technical Drawing 101 book. Our objectives in the first chapter really are they just talk about career applications in technical drawing. And as we look at it, a lot of the book goes through these different standards like American Design and Drafting, American Institute of Architects, Society of Engineering, Professional Engineers, Department of Labor. And so it's a good way to be prepared for an interview, be able to talk intelligently about the field. Talks a little bit about the origins of technical drawing back to the late 1700s and how graphic communication has evolved over the years. But as you look at it, what I found was it was really difficult for me to draw with a pencil. And when I started to work with CAD, my drawing improved greatly. And so I took AutoCAD back at Kishwaukee Community College out near DeKalb and probably one of the best courses I took as far as being able to get employment, because I could always get in the door with my CAD skills. And then once I got in there, I could then hone them towards what I was working with. And so the book is set up for architectural drawings, like this section view of a footing. And then it goes through and talks about other things, technical training for architects, types of drawings, how a drawing looks, you know, being able to do civil engineering drawings, electronic drawings. So they give you kind of a flavor or an overview of the different types of work in CAD. And that's what we're finding. We're finding now in this day and age, most of the people coming into the class aren't engineers looking to upgrade their skills, but they're younger students saying, hey, you know, I've heard that this is a good field to be in. And most of them will find it is. And so we want them to understand what areas of employment are out there. And then it talks a little bit about what are the necessary skills that employers are looking for. And it's very important to be able to meet deadlines, as well as to be able to communicate, be dependable. But we find that the AutoCAD courses, there is quite a bit of employment out there, and it's a smart person's employment. It's not where you have to go and sell, but it's mostly a matter of being able to understand what information you need to be able to establish these drawings. And so things like being able to lay out a floor plan, being able to show where the electrical runs, being able to show or be able to add blocks and attributes for things like furniture. So there's a lot of management that you can do with a CAD system that ties into things. And then at the end of the chapter, they have these questions. Now, Al, we haven't really required any of the questions at the end of the chapters at this time, have we?
No, not at this point.
Okay. So that's the first chapter. And then if we take a look at it, we're talking about using the Technical Drawing 101 book. That was a brief on it. And then the other book that will start to tie into it is the book that we used in the 116 course. And what we're doing is we're using the advanced options of it. And so if I look at the PDF, we want to start to introduce you to some of the three-dimensional drawing. And we'll talk about this next week. But what we find is the students really like it. And so when we go through the assignment today, we'll go through how to do the two-dimensional, and then we'll start bringing you into some of the 3D. And what we usually find is that once people start to get into 3D, they go, this is great. I want to use 3D all the time. But the reality of it is that there is certain things that are two-dimensional. And two-dimensional work is really great for floor plans and layouts and being able to manage. And then the 3D has other applications like being able to do 3D printing, being able to do other types of layouts and work. And so it's just a natural progression. And so we can go through how to use the interface with that. So we have two books. The content is in the D2L, so you don't necessarily have to go run out and worry about it at this point, but it's recommended that you have those two books. And then module 1, Al's got that turned on. And so module 1, drawings are due in 2 weeks. And so this will be due on the 3rd of February. And we're going to go through and do these two drawings. And so we have, and you can substitute if you want to do the architectural drawing instead of one of these two, you can do that. We typically make one of them bonus. And so we give 2 drawings. I think we should have probably done this with one architectural and one mechanical. So as I look at it, you can do the architectural one rather than bonus, but 2 drawings are required. And the first one, lab 1A and B, if I click on this, open the B-size title block, Draw the object as shown, use proper layers, object layer, dimension layer, hidden layer, center line layer. Place the objects in a viewport, complete the title block information, and then submit the drawings to the title block. So this would be considered drawing 1A, where you replace your initials with where you replace the X's with your initials. And so I showed the Dropbox already. You can see that one of the students already did them, and he said, hey, I'll do all three. So you need to do 2 of them. Here are the dimensions for that, and the dimensions for this one. And then the architectural drawing is located under lab 1. And here it is right here. It's a little faded on the computer, but when you download it, this is very visible. And I believe we have videos for that as well. So here's lab 1B. I don't think we have a video for the door, Al. Do we have a video for it?
I thought we did.
We'll have to embed that because I don't see it at this time.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look at the video, here's the video tutorial. That's 1B. And it basically goes through, shows you how to set up the drawing and create the drawing step by step. We'll double check to see where the architectural link is, Al. And if we don't have it today, give us a couple of days and we'll make another one. Back to module 1. And then the video for lab 1A. And again, we'll go through and we'll take you through how to set that up, how to create that drawing. Put it onto the title block and dimension it. Some of the drawings are in the Oakton video server. The newer ones are all on YouTube, and you can get closed captioning with those. Okay, so I think I've covered all the points. Here's our architectural drawing. Let's see if it's a video for that. No. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the main splash page. Al, is there anything that I need to cover before we end this video?
Just making sure if you had our class last semester or semester before that, make sure you get the right update for your AutoCAD because it runs out every year now. It used to be for every 3 years. Now it's running out every year. So all you have to do is go in there and update it, and it gets you a brand new number, and you're all set. Thank you.
So you're saying that the software may need to be updated?
That's correct. It's all 1 year now. So if you want to keep the same software, fine. If you want to update it to 2021, that's fine also. If you want to go to 2020 or 2019, that's fine also. If you find out if you have a Mac or an Apple unit and you want to use a Windows version, you can always get a hold of us and we can explain to you where to do it and how to do it. And that really is easy to do.
Great. All right. So with that, I'm going to end the recording and then we'll open it up and we'll talk a little bit about AutoCAD and we'll run the meeting until 7:30. But this will be our weekly video lecture. We don't like it to get too long or nobody watches it because we look through the stats. So with that, I'm going to end this video and then we'll open things up for questions.